In this video, I'll be sharing with you a requested tutorial from my group on how to cut this stylish overburst conical corset pattern. This corset pattern is from Lyre Creation Hub on Instagram. So for my pattern, I've gone ahead to mark out my basic measurement, which includes my shoulder to bust, shoulder to underbust, which is 12, shoulder to waistline, which is 17, and I added additional 5 inches after my blouse length. I'll just go ahead to label this out, right? So after that, start by marking my shoulder divided by 2. My shoulder is 14 divided by 2, I have 7. And I'll come down by 1 inch. Now I'll mark a basic neckline of 3 inches. And I'll go ahead to place my ruler connect to the shoulder slant. The next step is to go ahead to find my chest line. I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 6 plus 1.5 inches. At that point, place my ruler and draw out a straight line. Now, what I have on my shoulder, I'll mark it back on the chest line. I'll place the ruler and I'll connect it all the way up. After I'm done connecting, the next step is to divide what I have here into 2 equal parts and come out by ½ inch. Now, I'll mark my bust circumference divided by 4. After marking this, I'll connect this all the way up and also connect it to where I have my bust circumference divided by 4. Now, the next step I'm going to take is to go ahead to mark my basic neckline. I'll just mark out a basic neckline of 3 by 3 inches, which I'm using to serve as a guide for this pattern. Now, let's start by marking my dart. Go ahead to mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2, right? And I will mark this at the bust, under bust, waist, and blouse length. I'll go ahead to place my ruler connecting from the bust all the way to the blouse length. Now, after connecting this, I'll divide my shoulder, the remaining part, into 2 and mark. I'll place my ruler and I'll connect this up. After connecting, I'll be marking a dart intake of 1 inch on both sides, and I'll also mark at the other side of the pattern. Now, this is my dart intake at both sides. If you're a plus size or you're a bit busty, please go ahead to use 1.5 inches. Unless your bust is on the smaller size, you can go ahead to use 1 inch for your dart intake. Now, place your curve drew, connect from the bust to the under bust, connect to the other side of this pattern. Now, I'm going to go ahead to measure where I want the corset pattern to start. So you can place from your shoulder or measure above your chest line. So I'm just using 2 inches above my chest line. Please go ahead to take this measurement, it's very important. Now, for my dart intake, I'll mark 1 inch on both sides. If you're plus size, go ahead to use 1.25 or 1.5 inches on both sides. I'll place my curve drew and I will connect. When connecting, I won't make it too curvy, and I'll also connect at this side. Now, the next step I'm going to take is to mark my measurements. Before going ahead to mark that, I'll outline my pattern. Now, the next step is to insert my measurement. I'm going to mark my bust circumference divided by 4. For the dart intake, I'll pick this one I have close to the bust line and replace. This will help to tighten the upper part of the bust. If I add it by the side, I might have more excess at the side of this pattern because you're making this pattern with just ½ inch sewing allowance. Here, mark your under bust circumference divided by 4. Measure the dart intake you have here, replace, and then just add ½ inch for your sewing allowance. Now, go ahead to mark your waistline if that is what you're using. Now, my waist is 28. I want to snatch out 2 inches from it. What I'll do is 28 minus 2 will give me 26. So I'll divide that 26 by 4 and mark. Now, measure the dart intake, replace, and add ½ inch back for the sewing allowance. So here you have a conical effect. Mark your hip circumference divided by 4. Measure this dart intake you have here, replace, and then add ½ inch for your sewing allowance. I'll first of all connect my pattern before going ahead to mark out the slight conical effect we have by the side of this pattern. Now, after connecting, this is what I have. Next step is to mark my bust dart. Now, measure your shoulder to waist in front and measure your shoulder to waist at the back. My shoulder to waist in front is 17, while for the back is 15.5. If you take out 15.5 inches from 17, it will give you 1.5. So this is how I got the bust dart, and I marked and connected to the bust or the dart line. Now let's draft out the neckline. I'm just going to go ahead to pick a point. How deep you want the neckline to be is a sweetheart neckline. I'll just use a freehand sketch to draw out this part of my pattern. So this is what I have, and I'll blend in the dart I have here and start connecting to the side. So whenever I'm making like a dress that has like a tube like form, I like going up by ½ inch by the side so that I don't reveal the armhole too much. I don't really like my armhole showing that much. Now I'll go ahead to use my marker to outline and also outline to the other side and also on the dart. Now at the front part of this dress, you notice there's a lacing. So for the lacing, I'll just use ½ inch there, right? You don't want to open it too much that it will be difficult to close back. So I'm just adding ½ inch at this point, and I'll extend this up and also take it all the way to the lower part of the blouse length. I'll outline and make a dot to indicate I have a lacing at the front. Now let's go ahead to work on the conical effects we have there, right? So what I'll do now is, for your conical effect, you can use 2 to 3 inches depending on how wide you want it to be. So what we have there is not that much. I marked 2 inches, which I adjusted to 3. So while cutting this, I'll also be explaining. In case you're not okay with the sides, you can just go ahead to reduce it. So after marking that, I'll go ahead to use my free hand first to go ahead to outline. So I'll go ahead to connect to this side. So if you feel the conical effect you have much, you can go ahead to reduce it after drafting, or if you're not okay with it, probably it's smaller, you can go ahead to reduce it. But whatever you're using should be in the range of 1.5 to 3 inches. Now I'll blend this dart line and I'll try to create like a curve. I'll come down by ½ inch here and I'll start taking this all the way to the upper part. This is to create the asymmetric hemline we have at the lower part of this dress, and I will connect. Now after marking this, I'm just going to go ahead to mark out, extend your dart legs also, and go ahead to outline this part of your pattern. So after this, I'll just go ahead to label my pattern and we'll be cutting this out. So after this, I'll go ahead to label out my pattern as center front and side front. Then I will now go ahead to cut out. So at this point, if you have any question, please kindly go ahead to ask. And while cutting also, when cutting the side, blend out your dart and use your marker to merge it up. And I'll cut out the side, cut out the center, also the front part, and after that we'll head over to cut out the back pattern. So after cutting, this is what I have. Now for the side, in case you're not okay with it, I'm just reducing mine with ½ inch. Always extend or reduce that point. Now let's go ahead to work on the back pattern. I've marked my shoulder divided by 2 and I found my chest line the same way we did for the front. So I marked my shoulder to bust, and this is my shoulder to waist at the back. If you've noticed, it is shorter than that of what I have at the front. So that is why we added that bust dart. It will blend up to meet the waist at the back. Now I added this additional 5 inches I have after the waistline. So I'll start by marking my dart for this pattern, which I'll mark my nipple to nipple divided by 2. And I'm going to place my ruler to draw a straight line connecting from the bust, waist and blouse length. Next, let's mark our dart intake. I'm marking ½ inch at both sides of this pattern. Come down by 1 inch. Now place your ruler connecting to the upper part of this pattern and also connect at the other side. Now you'll be extending your dart legs all the way to the lower side of this pattern. Now after marking this, let's insert our measurement. Mark your bust circumference divided by 4, add ½ inch. Use that same waistline you used for the front. Mark, measure the dart intake you have here, replace, add ½ inch. I'll go ahead to mark my hip circumference divided by 4 and add ½ inch. Now before marking the conical effect, I'll place this pattern, but I'll add another pattern paper just in case my pattern does not fit what I have here. Now you want to place your front waist and match it up, right? Because your back is supposed to match your front at the lower side. So I'll add that extra 2 inches I have from the front waistline for the conical effect for the back. place my pattern and I'll make sure that it ends on that line, and I'll just go ahead to connect, right? You should match what you have at the front. The front side should mark the back, should match the side for the back. After matching up, I'll just go ahead to place my ruler to connect all the way up for the back pattern. I'll come up by ½ inch at the chest line of my pattern, and I'll come down from ½ inch here. This is to avoid the lacing to pop up by the center at the back, and I'll connect. So I'll go ahead to mark the lacing. I'm using 2 inches, which is not a standard. You can use 1.5. So if you want your own to be as close as what we have at the thumbnail, you can just go ahead to use 1.5 inches at the back. But if you want yours to be open, go ahead to use 2 inches or 2.5. So I'll go ahead to come down by ½ inch and also draw out the asymmetric hemline for the back. So after this, I'll just go ahead to cut out my back pattern. If you have any question regarding this pattern drafting, please kindly go ahead to ask your question.